Hello everyone and welcome to the first channel update video, and hopefully not the last one, where I would like to talk with you about my channel and basically have a discussion about where we're going and what the future holds basically for my channel. And the reason why I would like to make this video, or the reason why I wanted to make this video, is that I feel that YouTube is really bad at communicating creators with their audiences. I feel like the communication between me and you is really not sufficient. Also I wanted to get a little bit more personal with you, and so I was thinking that maybe the best place to start would be answering some of the questions that you have been asking. And the first one is coming from the protagonists, asking about what are my PC specs and how many FPS I get while launching those larger crafts. And my PC specs are right now visible on the screen. As you can see, my PC is not extremely overpowered. It's probably a relatively decent one, but not something that it's not Google Ultron anyway. And regarding the FPS, well, that depends. I usually try to stay with crafts that are around 300 parts, mainly for the FPS reasons, and I can count with that crafts on having at least 18 FPS in the atmosphere, let's say, and with all the visual mods installed. Yeah, bigger crafts have much less than that, and the lowest I was actually still able to play with in a sense, because that only requires patience afterwards and it's pretty boring, was I think 4 or 5 FPS, and that was when I was launching the single launch space stations. The Cassiopeia space station with its launch vehicle had around 4 FPS for me, so that video had to be extremely edited afterwards, and all the footage had to be reworked. So yeah, basically my FPS when I'm playing KSP with larger SSTOs is around 18 FPS. With huge SSTOs it's less than that, and I'm trying to stick with smaller vessels to basically bump it up. The next question's coming from Hoyos, and the question is, how did I get into KSP and where did I find it? And well, the answer to that is pretty simple. My friend told me about it, and that was when I was working in a project where we actually were renting office space in the International Space University, and well, obviously that's a very space-centric university. And my friend told me that there is a game called KSP where you can actually, you know, fly rockets and stuff in space. And initially I was quite resentful, let's call it that way. I didn't really like the idea of little green men flying into space. I found that a little bit ridiculous. But then after some time, that idea kind of matured in me, and I decided to check the game out and looked up some videos on YouTube. And actually the video that convinced me to start playing KSP, to buy it and start playing KSP, was a video by Shadowzone, where he was sending I think a Corvette to Duna with an ion bike. And since, as some of you know, I am very big on electric things, and I work as a, you know, as a physicist and in the field of photovoltaics, I really like everything that's basically electric. And in that video, Shadowzone had ion engines and ion bike, and I was absolutely sold at that point. And so I decided that I need to get KSP and start to play it. And yeah, that's how I started. The next question is coming from Beast Winner 123, asking about what inspired me to start YouTube. And well, the answer to that is also pretty simple. I just played KSP initially in the career mode, and I was really bad at it. And and I realized that I'm constantly running out of funds with rockets that I'm launching, because I wanted to build big bases and big space stations, and as you know, in career mode that's not exactly very easy, especially if you're not going reusable. And then I found videos from Mr. Overfloater at that time, it was about 2 years ago, where he was making big cargo SSTOs, and I was like hyper inspired by them, and I tried to first to fly his craft files that did not work at that time anymore, and I tried to make my own, and I couldn't do it. And the only available working SSTOs and videos about him that I could find were from Matt Lown, were his very first SSTOs videos. And then I started working on actually developing SSTOs, and Yeah, I got that development to the point where I realized that there's nothing like that out there currently on YouTube, and I decided to share it. And this is how I basically made my first SSTO video. That was the second video on my channel that was dedicated to KSP, and that was the ELU mission, because I was thinking that if I'm going to start, I might as well start big, and I went to ELU because no one went to ELU with an SSTO at that time. So yeah, that's how I started. I thought that I have something relatively interesting to share, and I wanted to share it with you. Just not to brag or anything, it's just that I thought it's cool, and maybe some people will just take parts of inspiration from it, or maybe they will share their ideas with me on my videos, and that would be something nice. The next question is coming from Sir Steve, and asking about how much fun do I have making these, and I assume that's making videos. And actually I have quite a lot of fun. I have quite a lot of fun making those videos. It's a little bit work intensive, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but in general I like it very much. If I didn't like it, I suppose I would stop a long time ago, but I really do enjoy it. I actually love space, and I basically love everything that is space related. I do enjoy making videos on YouTube, especially about space. Next question is coming from Joshua Knightley. What is the KSP mission I am the most proud of? And I think that the one that turned out to be the most interesting one was the Duna rovers delivery one, where I sent 2 rovers to Duna using an SSTO spaceplane. I'm pretty happy with how this mission turned out. I mean, I think it's a sleek looking design for both rovers and the SSTO, and the mission was relatively well performed, and the video turned out to be quite nice as well. So I think that's probably my favorite mission. Although I do like others as well, like my recent space station videos are also something that I'm pretty proud of. I really put my heart into designing those space stations, and I think they turned out pretty well, and plus they are useful, which is it's not always the case in KSP, but yeah. So I would say that the Tuna mission is the one that I'm the most proud of. The next question is coming from Chris Hanley. Of all of the KSP videos I've made, which has been your favorite to make, and which has been most technically challenging mission? That's a difficult question, really. The most challenging technically was probably my space station with SSTO's videos, because there was a lots of different launches and docking involved into that, and that video took me probably the longest to make, and I would say that technically that was probably the most challenging video that I've made so far. Not because every single launch was technically challenging, but I needed to design a lot of different ships to actually pull it off, and I needed to design the space station that was also, you know, quite I wanted it to look relatively nice and be well, maybe not realistic, because there are no space stations like that, but look feasible. And yeah, it took me quite some time to film it and then edit it, and that's probably the most ambitious project I had at the time, and for a long time it stayed the most ambitious project I've made. And the next question is coming from Lewis Massey about my face reveal. I mean, if you really want to have nightmares, then here it is. Here it is. You can. That's how I look, and now you have only yourself to blame if you can't sleep. The next question is coming from Finn Miller. Where I'm from and what is my accent? This is actually something that is popping up on my channel quite often. And I was quite dodgy about answering this question, because I always thought that what I wanted to share is my content mainly, and not my personal information. But I suppose that we are at the point where this is unavoidable, really. So if you're really interested, I am not a native speaker in English, obviously, which is probably a first thing that you will notice if you are an English speaker, or maybe not. And the second thing is that the first language that I've learned was Polish, and then I learned English at the age of 5, and it stayed that way. So I suppose my accent is influenced by that. And currently, for the past 12 years, I've been living in France, and yeah, that's about it. This is where I'm from and what's my accent. Okay, so for now, those were all the questions that you've guys been asking, and thank you very much for them. I hope that I've answered all of them in a satisfactory way. If you have any more questions, please write them in the comments below. But now I wanted to talk a little bit about what's been happening on my channel recently, and why, and what is going to happen in the future, and also why. And as you might have noticed, for the past over a month, I've been uploading quite a lot of videos weekly, overall free most of the time. And that was actually part of experiment that I was conducting that was supposed to counter the effect that I observed on my channel. And the reason why I was doing this is because I noticed that views on my channel had started to drop quite significantly, and actually the whole let's call it method how YouTube is suggesting videos to viewers has changed. And I heard a lot of creators complaining about that. And see, the problem with this whole topic is that I find it, at least, it's quite difficult to talk about this to you, the viewers, because I don't want to sound like an ignorant dickhead or anything or anyone like that. But what I like about YouTube, and as a viewer as well, because I use YouTube as a viewer quite a lot, is that I don't really need to delve into the problems that creators have, or I didn't used to do that, and I can just enjoy their content. And that was a fair deal, I suppose. They were paid. I was thinking that some vague way that if I watch their videos they get more popular and they get paid more. I didn't want to even know the details how this works, and I could enjoy their videos for free, and I still think that's a fair deal. And when I started making videos, I learned a lot of inner workings of how this actually works. And when I don't know, this is pretty difficult to explain, but without going into details, but so basically speaking, what's important to me as a creator is that my videos are reaching people that are willing to watch them or would be happy to watch them. And the reason why I do it is, first of all, because if I make something that makes other people happy and the people are enjoying it, then I feel like I've did something for others, and that's always good. And at some point when you reach, when your videos get a little bit more work intensive than they usually do, then you also are happy that you are getting a little bit of financial support for that. And I know that there are a lot of misconceptions about how much money YouTubers make, and it's really difficult to find a very good information about that. And the reason why this is the case is that actually YouTube is binding you legally with an NDA when you sign for monetization, and you just cannot disclose it. But if you really want to have a very good preliminary estimate how much money I make, for example, with my type of content, then you can take the number of views I have on my videos and divide it by 1,000, and that's the amount in dollars, in US dollars, that I'm getting most of the time. If you want to further investigate whether that's a lot or not, then take into account that my recent videos take more or less 18 to 20 hours to make. My previous videos, the music ones, were much more highly edited, and they took around 30 hours to make. And a lot of creators are sharing their time spent into making videos with their audiences, and some animations that you can see on YouTube that can last about 10 minutes more often than not take 60 hours of work time to make. And that's not exaggerated. So, you take that, you divide it by the amount of views by 1,000 and see if that's the work that you would like to do. I'm not complaining, just to get me right, is that I'm still doing this for fun. This is not my job, at least not the primary job that I'm doing. And this is actually why I wanted to conduct this experiment, because since it's not my job, I can always stop doing it. And if it does not pay off, I could just revert to the point where I would make videos when I feel like it and not when I need to, because otherwise my channel might sink into the valley of forgotten channels. And that's actually what I dislike about current state of YouTube. Before, it was possible to have an upload schedule once a month or every 2 months, and still, if your videos were relatively good and high work intensive, and there are people in KSP community who had videos like that. Hazardish is probably the best example with Turbo Pumped. They weren't publishing very often, but their videos are really good, and they're very well edited and well thought through, and the missions are impressive. So basically what was happening before is that with those kind of projects you accumulated a lot of watch time and response, and that was considered by YouTube a good quality video that was worth promoting. And I think that's okay. I actually really liked this model, and I was aiming for it initially. But then the model changed, and it was gradually changing into something that is much more oriented towards news and let's call it a more immediate response type of content. And this actually hurted a lot of channels. Not mine, because I still think that gaming is not extremely valuable thing to do, but all of the science and educational channels and tutorials and channels that are basically putting up content that you don't really need to watch the day they are published, but their usefulness is still valid years after publishing. Those got hit pretty hard. And you know, YouTube is basically right now, or seems to be, judging video usefulness and whether it is worth promoting or not, even to my own subscribers, only by the amount of people who click on it really hours after it's published. And my videos are not really meant to be watched right after they are published. I mean, you can watch them a week later, you can watch them a month later, you can catch up with my series a couple of months later and still enjoy it probably. And this is why I suppose why views on my channel have been dropping. And the experiment I was conducting was actually based on the information I got from one of the YouTube creators who is actually running courses for YouTubers, how to get more recognition on YouTube. And I wanted to test a couple of his suggestions actually. And it turned out that it didn't really have much effect on my channel. I mean, I had initially slight raise in views, but nowhere near the point that I had before. And then the views plummeted without anything being changed from my part. And then the second part of this experiment was past 2 weeks, where I actually stopped publishing 3 videos per week, and I only published once a week like I used to do before. And my channel's pretty much dead right now. There are still people watching my content, and I suppose that if you're watching this, you're the very proof of that. But my videos right now are getting between 2,000 to 5,000 views right before YouTube stops suggesting them. And considering that I have 25,000 subscribers, it means that only between 10 to 20% of people who are subscribed to my channel are actually watching what I'm making. And that's not even true, because normally only about half of the views that I get is from my subscribers, and the other half is from unsubscribed people. So you see, that's something that is quite disheartening and demotivating for a creator if you feel like your content is not reaching your audience. Because if I had content, if I started making content that you would not enjoy, I would actually prefer to hear about that, and I would prefer that you would watch it and tell me that you don't like it, and then I could only have myself to blame that something's wrong. But right now I just don't see what's going on. It's like a lot of YouTubers or creators are confused about that, because they don't really understand why their views are dropping. People seem to like, the comments are very positive, they get a lot of likes, and still their views are dropping for no apparent reason. And yeah, this is quite sad actually. And that brings me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about. I really do like making KSP videos, although my videos, as I told you, they were initially designed to be quite labor intensive, and that was done having the 1 month published schedule in mind, and then I shifted to once a week, and now it's 3 times a week, and or with 2 KSP videos a week. That's just not sustainable. I used my holidays to actually be able to pull it off, and it's not going to work in the long run. And right now, if I went back to 1 video a week publishing schedule, that's still quite a lot of work for me. I mean, if we're talking KSP, then probably my channel will basically die, and that's something I would like to avoid, because that's a lot of work that has been invested into it. That's one thing. And B is that I still like doing that. And the other option is that I start making lower quality videos about KSP, which I really don't like as an idea. The third option is that I will start uploading more videos not related to KSP that are actually not that work intensive. And this is also something I am not really happy about, because I know that my viewers are not really interested in seeing different type of content on my channel. I had a bunch of experiments about different types of games, and well, the views speak for themselves. Like, I understand that you prefer my KSP content to anything else, but the problem is that YouTube is not supporting it anymore. And I have a couple of ideas how I can counter that, and some of them are quite mutually exclusive, let's say, or maybe not exactly compatible, so I don't know how this all work out in the future. But the plan for the following couple of weeks is as follows. First of all, I would like to ask you to follow me on VidMe. That is another site for video creators that's currently quite small, and I will upload my videos there as well. And right now, to actually upload more and to remove the weekly upload limit, I need to have at least 50 followers. So if you can follow me on VidMe, that would be highly appreciated. Second of all, if I would like and you would like me to maintain high production quality of my videos, then one of the options that we might have is that I basically stop relying on ad revenue and views on YouTube. And I really hate to say that, but I would need to ask you for a direct support. And for that, I launched a Patreon campaign. And I'm certainly not expecting anyone to help me out with that, but if you like my content, if you like the stuff that I'm doing, if you like my videos, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. I can't even express how much that would be a game changer for me. If I could focus on making things that you like and I like, and stop worrying about pulling content that I'm not happy with, only to, you know, to stay afloat on YouTube because of some stupid changes in the algorithm that are promoting news and celebrities instead of valuable content. And by valuable content, I mean I wanted to make a slight shift towards more science-oriented videos that are even more labor-intensive than gaming content in KSP. But with current, you know, method the videos are suggested, that's just out of the question. It will never work, because I'm not going to invest 60 hours of my work time weekly for a video that's gonna get 1,000, 5,000 views. That's just basically pointless. So regarding the content that I will put out in the future, is that, well, obviously 2 KSP videos per week are probably not going to happen. I will be publishing 1 KSP video probably every Saturday, and then I will publish 2 more videos that are not related to KSP, only because those videos can be filmed much faster and created much faster than KSP videos. And to give you some perspective, right now when I cut down on the production time in my SSTO space program and Galileo series, I need around 15 to 18 hours for a single episode, and by comparison, making a 1 hour long Mass Effect Andromeda video takes me about 1.5 hours of work time. So you see, and by YouTube, unfortunately, by YouTube, those videos are not even comparable. The absolute watch time on my Mass Effect videos is longer than on my KSP videos, which is basically ridiculous. But hey, this is how YouTube judges videos right now. I mean, I will still stay with content that is space related, and I will try to share with you things that I still enjoy and hopefully you will find interesting. One of the games that I would like to share with you is going to be revealed very soon, I think. I don't know. I really do hope that you'll like it. I'm pretty sure I will love it. And this is something I would like to do regardless of videos or not. But if you will enjoy it with me, then the better. That's all for this update. I'm sorry if that's a little bit disheartening, but I'm sure that with your support and with great audience like you, this all will be sorted out in the future. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening if you made it that far. My name is Thrimm, and I will see you next time. Bye.